Before we begin, I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this story. What you're about to hear is one of the most disturbing and unbelievable discoveries ever made in a quiet rural community. Something hidden deep in the forest that exposes greed, betrayal, and a secret trade in human bodies that operated for years without detection. This case will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about disappearances. If you enjoy true crime stories, mysterious discoveries, and real investigations that dig deeper than the headlines, please subscribe, like, and share this video. It helps the channel grow and ensures more people hear stories like this. And don't forget to stay tuned. There are many more shocking cases coming your way. Also, if you're comfortable, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is right now. Now, let's step into the forest. Garry Morris had been a community park ranger in Green Lake Forest for 7 years, long enough to memorize every trail, every creek, and every noise the woods were supposed to make. Rangers here dealt with small problems: illegal camping, stray wildlife, teenagers sneaking in for late-night parties. But missing persons? Not until the last few years. Green Lake had quietly racked up 32 disappearances over a 12-year period. Young adults, hikers, elderly men, women walking home from work. People vanished without a trace. No remains. No evidence. No direction for investigators. Families called it cursed land. Officials called it coincidence. But for Garry, it was personal. One of the missing was his younger brother, Steve Garry, age 25. A college student, a gym lover, a quiet guy with a simple life. He vanished while driving home from work one rainy night. His car was found, but he wasn't. No one had answers. But Garry never stopped looking. It was late September, a cold evening when the leaves had just begun turning brown. Garry was patrolling a rarely used interior section of the forest, a place where even hunters didn't go. Around 6 p.m., something caught his eye through the trees, something square, angular, and colorless. A building, hidden behind layers of vines and moss. Wooden siding faded to gray. Roof bowed inward. A single metal chimney rising crookedly above the treetops. A funeral home doesn't belong in the woods. Certainly not one this deep. Garry shut off his ATV and approached cautiously. The front door was nailed shut, but the side door hung crooked on rusted hinges. A cracked wooden sign lay in the weeds. Hawthorne and Sons Funeral Services, IST 1954. He knew the name. The Hawthorne family closed their community funeral home in town back in 1997. No one mentioned they had a second location. No one mentioned anything like this existed. He stepped inside, and immediately smelled chemicals. Sharp, medicinal, and beneath it, something metallic. Old, foul, wrong. His flashlight cut through the dusty air. And so began the discovery that would unravel everything. The first room looked like a preparation space: steel tables, cabinets, old jars of preservatives, sealed boxes. Everything coated in layers of dust. But on the far wall, he noticed a door. Heavy. Steel. Industrial. A deadbolt hung loose, broken. Garry pushed it open. A narrow hallway led deeper into the structure. The chemical odor grew stronger. The hallway opened into a larger room. And this room froze Garry in place. He saw bodies. Not rotting. Not skeletons. Not fully intact, either. The skin on every body had been professionally removed, but the underlying muscle, ligaments, and preserved tissues remained dry, intact, and unerringly clean. They had been treated, preserved, and arranged like scientific exhibits. Each body lay on a metal platform, covered in glass-like containers, each secured with latches. And on each was a name tag. He counted them. 1, 2, 7, 15, 32. Exactly the number of those missing. His stomach turned. His chest tightened. That's when he saw a tag halfway down the row. Steve Garry, age 25. No scream came out. No breath. Just shock. His brother's muscles, preserved without skin, lay before him, positioned like a medical specimen waiting for shipment. Garry stepped backward, hitting the wall behind him. His flashlight nearly slipped from his hand. He shook. Then he whispered, "No. Steve. Oh God. Steve." Most people would have run. Most people would have called for backup immediately. But something inside him locked into place. A need to know who else was here. A hope, thin and irrational, that maybe someone wasn't dead. A rage that demanded answers before anyone else touched the scene. So he forced himself to keep moving. He entered another room, this one colder, lined with metal lockers and thick insulated containers. Labels were handwritten. For export. Atlas Medical University. Anatomy Practical Supply. Priority. Dry preservation. No delay. He realized instantly. This funeral home was preserving people to sell their bodies to medical schools. Not for donation. Not legally. Not ethically. For profit. This wasn't sloppy work. This was a system. A pipeline. An industry hidden in the forest. On one table lay invoices, detailed lists of specimens, described in terms of quality, condition, and yield. Every missing person matched an invoice. His brother's name was marked with a price. $7,800. Garry dropped to his knees. His brother was merchandise. After nearly an hour of moving through the underground rooms, the hallways, the storage spaces, and the hidden chambers, Garry made the call. "Dispatch. This is Ranger Morris. I need the Sheriff's Department, State Police, Medical Examiner, Crime Scene Unit, everyone. I've discovered something bad. Something huge." "How bad?" Dispatch asked. Garry looked at the rows of preserved bodies. He looked at Steve. He looked at the name tags of neighbors, old friends, elders, teenagers, people the forest had supposedly swallowed. "It's the missing," Garry whispered. "All 32 of them." The silence on the radio lasted seconds. Then, "We're sending everyone." Within an hour, the forest blazed with lights. Police vehicles, forensic vans, crime scene trucks, emergency medical units, and finally, journalists. Drone cameras hovered over the forest. Reporters crowded the path. And when investigators entered the funeral home, several staggered backward. Not from the bodies. Many had seen bodies before. But from the precision, the preservation, the mechanical efficiency of how human beings had been processed. As if they were products, not people. The funeral home had been abandoned publicly but still privately used. A hidden driveway connected the building to the old Hawthorne family property. Shipping documents showed regular exports to 3 medical schools. Payments were laundered through a fake research supply company. The 32 victims were abducted, declared missing, preserved, and sold. The mastermind, Edwin Hawthorne, the last surviving son of the funeral home owners, supposedly dead for years. But the documents proved he was alive at least until 2 years earlier, exporting $300,000 to $500,000 worth of preserved cadavers annually. Every family was notified. Every family broke down. Some fainted. Some screamed. Some sat silent in shock. Garry's mother fell to the ground. His father held onto the fence post, shaking uncontrollably. "Please tell me this isn't real," she begged Garry. "Please tell me this isn't Steve." But it was. For the first time, they knew what happened. No ambiguous disappearance. No endless searching. Just truth, horrifying but final. Journalists swarmed the story. National networks covered it. Every news site wanted interviews. But the families demanded justice before publicity. And justice came hard. Investigators located Edwin Hawthorne in a remote cabin 3 towns away. He had fled once the media exposed the story. But he left behind ledgers, specimen pricing, shipping records, contracts, payment receipts. He was arrested on 32 counts of unlawful disposal of bodies, 32 counts of human trafficking for medical exploitation, 32 counts of concealment of death, 32 counts of medical fraud, and multiple federal charges. His accomplices, drivers, lab assistants, and 1 medical school administrator were also arrested. The abandoned funeral home was torn down. The land was turned into a memorial park. Families gathered for the burial of all 32 victims, including Steve. Garry stood at his brother's grave, unable to speak. But he placed a hand on the simple headstone. Steve Garry, stolen but not forgotten. The wind moved softly through the trees. And for the first time, Garry felt his brother was finally home. Thank you for staying with me until the end of this story. Cases like this remind us why abandoned places must never be ignored, why missing persons cases should never be dismissed, and why communities must continue to demand answers when something doesn't feel right. If one ranger hadn't followed his instincts that evening, the truth behind these disappearances might have stayed buried forever. If you found this story powerful, informative, or eye-opening, please consider subscribing and leaving a comment about your thoughts. Your engagement really helps stories like this reach more people, and ensures that the victims, like those found in Green Lake Forest, are never forgotten. And before you go, let me know where you're watching from. Every time someone shares their location, it reminds me how many people across the world care about justice. Stay safe. Stay aware. And remember, truth always finds a way out.